Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions, where we are critical, not cynical, of the music we listen to. I'm your host, Bryan, and we're going to continue on with this week's theme of album closers, looking at tracks that wrap up an album that we're listening to. Although, we're not actually listening to the album, it just wraps up an album. I don't know. Let's get in on this. We're going to check out some Obliviscaris today. We're looking at the final track from the album Portal of I. The track is of Petrichor Weaves Black Noise. Let's see what Neo's bringing to the table this time. I think we're in a free time in that intro. Every line seemed to be just a hair shorter or longer than the last. Yeah, we got a 4 against 3 thing here. Might be in 12-8. Love the bass idea underneath all this. Real funky volley rhythm. Yes. Love those suspended cleans against the rhythmic harshes. They find a really nice balancing point between having too many layers and where I'm wanting more. It's a really nice point where it's a very full production and it's just on the tipping point of being too much. It's just at that perfect level. Oh, that bass line right there. I like having the harshes pushed out to both sides. And the placement of the clean shifting. Trading off the left guitar had the moving line a second ago. Pass it to the right, now they're harmonizing. loving the violin melody. Yeah, let's bring this in a new direction. We've mostly been looking at one idea, a couple variations on it. Really strong 3-feel here. 3-feel. But the 4 kicks in too. Yeah, really nice polyrhythm. Really beautiful ride work as well. A lot of energy and drive in that guitar riff back there. Really clear layering as well. I think the production really sells this band for me. Just the raw precision and endurance to play this. Yeah, give me more of that. Fun little mode shift. Love the resonance in the voice. Huh. It was really interesting. I don't know what black noise is. White noise, I know. I think I know pink noise. I've heard of brown noise, but I don't know what white noise is. Also, is it strange that people have used colors to describe different types of noises? Is that normal? um, Anyways, what I picked up though in that final stacking of ideas was primarily white noise to my ears. I'm not a noise connoisseur, so maybe there's some uh, nuances there, and maybe one of them was white. I'm pretty certain that the static, the one that sounded like TV static, is white noise. But there's another one on top of that, and then there was this humming off in the distance, it's kind of fading in and out volume wise. Whoa, whoa, that kind of idea. But it sounded like I don't know, like a bell or an alarm or something like that. I don't know if that is a colored noise or if that's a sound. I kind of figure it's a sound, but we were layering noises there, so I'm not sure. And it all gets up to a point volume wise and just cuts to nothing. I've never heard of black noise, but extrapolating from there, and I have no idea how accurate this extrapolation would be, black noise is silence, it's the absence of noise. Well, no, that'd be the opposite. If we were going on color ideas, white is the absence of color, black is all the color. So, yeah, with that analogy, black noise would be everything. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting to go from so much musical components, so many musical components, beautiful melodies, layered writing, so many moving parts, driving energy, just like a very typical metal song that whatever genre these guys play, and then finish that off with these beautiful choir chords, and then just noise into silence. It makes me think that we are talking about something. It's got to be like a thematic reason, right? Artistic purpose for it. I don't know though. I don't know. Maybe I'll get curious enough and look it up during the analysis. Maybe once we get to the lyrics, I'll look up what petrichor is and what black noise is, and we'll see if we can't work through some ideas here. But yeah, just with the knowledge I've got, it's a very strange outro. So let's explain why it is strange. Let's talk about some of the musical things we have going on here. We have a beautiful isolated intro. I was going to say an isolated incident. We have an isolated intro where we have a single instrument, I think it was the guitar, playing these beautiful melodies. We move from that into our first full band idea. We have the guitars, we have the bass. Bass was just killing it right from the start. I do wish it was a little louder. I don't know if that is my hardware, though I do have it EQ'd on the Harman scale, I think is what it's called. So it should be fairly close, but I do know that um, this this headphone is not great at bass. Um, Also, my ears are not great at bass, so I mean, it could totally all be on my end. um, but I did hear the bass poking through every once in a while, and it was doing these moving lines, and it just sounded very cool. I didn't really get a chance to pick up notes to really see how it was playing against everything else, but given the attention to detail in all of the other moving melody lines, I'm just going to assume that it was really well done. Um, yeah, we got the bass, the guitars, the drums come in. I think we have a little bit of violin before our vocals hit, and then of course we have our vocals. Full band experience though. And while we do move through a couple of styles or a couple of variations of this core idea, there is what I feel like a verse chorus structure in this same tempo and time signature before we move into the really quick, double bass kick 16th note driving section with the fast picking in it. That is like a wholly separate section of the song that comes about at like, I don't know, is that 6 minutes into the track? This opening has sort of a two-piece idea, which is interesting because chordally we also have a two-piece idea. This entire opening 4 minutes of the song bounce back and forth between two chords, bounce back and forth between two ideas. We have the verse and the chorus. I don't know if they really are verses and chorus, but musically they're two sides of the same coin that we flip between. A lot of this is based off of eighth note ideas and driving layered melodies. There's usually a guitar doing some sort of melody. We have vocal work that is just playing, singing these suspended notes way above everything else, and just acting very angelic. That is paired against some moving bass lines. Our left guitar is changing up between foundational ideas and moving lines, and we have a rhythmic and textural component from our growler in our left ear adding into the movement and direction as well. And like I said, we sort of bounce around this a little bit. The clean vocals shifts to violin every once in a while, then back to the clean vocals. If I remember correctly, they're the same person. And the last couple of times we checked out Neo, it also does that same thing. So I just get the picture that our clean vocalist slash violinist always does one at a time. And I'm sure there's a couple of situations you can cherry pick, or maybe I've been cherry picking instances like this. But in my limited exposure to them, it seems like that person does phenomenal vocals, really cool violin ideas, and chooses not to do them simultaneously, which I think is interesting. I don't know if part of that is because of the way the violin works, with it resting on the shoulder, maybe maybe it has minor vibrations that affects vocal cords. Maybe it changes. Maybe it introduces variations or warbles to the vocals. Maybe the person just doesn't have that sort of mental ability to do two melody lines at the same time. Or maybe they just outright choose not to because that can get cluttered since both of the ideas are in the same range and they both typically do the same thing, which is moving melodies. There's a lot of reasons why this might be, but it is a pattern I've picked up as we've listened to more and more Neo. This section is very triumphant for me. It's very powerful in a positive way. It's, I don't know if I can outright say that it is. Victorious is the weird word. Triumphant is like a similar vibe, but it's different. It feels like you've accomplished something, not that you've overcome someone or something. And I think that's the difference between triumphant and victorious. Something has been finished, something has been completed, and there is joy out of that. That's what I get. But there isn't this domination that I think victory tends to kind of lean into as well. Victory, to me at least, showcases an opposition. And that opposition could be, personal, it could be entirely non-physical, non-person. The victory could be getting over an emotional state or something like that, but it's always overcoming something else. Whereas triumph is just an accomplishment of something. Or maybe accomplishment might just be the word I want. Achieving something. There's just something very positive and proud in this opening section, and a lot of it, at least to me, comes from the violin melodies, and just the overall vibe. I don't know if I can really point to any other specific instrument doing something that really points to this, other than the violin. Like I said, the violin melody keeps a lot of these emotions going strong when it's playing, but yeah, it's just a big moment, which is kind of underselling Neo because like everything I've learned is everything I've heard from him is kind of a big moment. But yeah, we move from that into our driving section. I think there might be a transition moment, but I can't remember. We do go into this section though, and this was phenomenal. Where our first section was primarily driven by eighth notes, and it kind of retained a grounded um, feeling to it, despite the violins and the clean vocals trying to elevate everything and push it beyond. It still felt rooted. And here we just decided to abandon that entirely, and we are moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Our drummer is doing blast beats, I think. 16th notes on the bass kicks, some really fun ride stuff. Our bass is doing moving melody lines again. Our guitars are moving to 16th note picking. This is the emphasis on this shifts. They're not exclusively doing that like the bass kicks are. I don't think there's a single section in this 3-minute, 4-minute block where the drums are not, the bass kick is not just going full on those 16th notes. This is the part when I said, the raw endurance and precision of this. This is the section I'm talking about, where just everybody's just playing so fast and clean. And I don't know that I got an emotional vibe out of this. I was just more jaw dropped feeling from the raw performance of it all. Everybody is playing at such a precise level, extremely cleanly, and fast. Fast bass lines, fast guitaring, fast drumming. The only thing I think that kind of slows it down a little bit is the violin line when we get it every once in a while. It has these nice, elegant, flowing, angelic melodies. And just a beautiful, driving, powerful section from start to finish here. We get some isolated growls here. We have one part that I really enjoyed where the growls were put on either side. They were kind of widened and panned to either side. We also had clean vocals to the right, and when the growls left, the vocals centered, and it kind of did this back and forth. What's really interesting is that it should have been weighted unevenly. We have 2 voices to our right and 1 voice to our left, and it felt fine. And we're going to touch back on that when we hit production, because yeah, I don't know who their producer is. Let me see if I got some info real. Tim Charles. Why do I feel like Tim Charles is somebody in the band? Written by Tim Charles. Composed by Tim Charles. Yeah, I think this is someone in the band. The name sounded familiar. But, I mean, the dude just got an ear for this. Everything about the production's so good. We'll talk about it in a second, though. And then we move from this into our outro. We return to our clean single guitar from our intro, and we slowly expand on this with a violin line and some clean vocals, and then the choir comes in, and then all this fades out into the white noise and the noise in general, I suppose. It's still such an interesting outro. So the flow of the song, to me, is driving triumph, or even just elevated triumph, leading into raw power and intensity and momentum, almost like gaining more need to continue on with that project you're working on. You finished it, you're like, I need more of this, I need this high again. You immediately dive into another project with that same intensity and dedication and focus that you had. And it moves into the outro, which is calm. And yeah, I've kind of got nothing on this. This is what I felt in each section, and while the first 2 sections, aside from our intro, I forgot about our intro, it does start out calm and then move into these ideas. The first 2 full band sections feel connected musically. They're very similar, if not the same, chordal ideas, and it retains that connective tissue that way. But I don't see how this connects to the intro and outro and what the story as a whole is trying to tell me. I'm also not getting much out of the title, but it's probably because Oh, the two nouns, I don't know what they are, so that kind of makes it difficult to understand anything about the sentence. So that's it for the music, for the most part. I want to talk about the solo real quick. There's a guitar solo in our second full section. It's the driving section where we got the 16th notes on the double bass kicks. I really, I really enjoyed this. It not only weaved a lot of what I love about the violin work, which is these really clean linear melodic lines where each idea perfectly blends into the next. It feels like reading a novel, where even though you have periods at the end of sentences and paragraphs to break up your groups of sentences, everything is understood as a whole. That's what these melody lines in the violins make me think of. Everything, there's perfect pacing to it, there's pauses, there's flow, there's direction, and everything is built off of what came before it to tell a story. The guitar does a similar thing, but ramps up the speed. We get some really fast playing, which fits well with the section that we're in, and just really nice linear melody writing that also decides to color outside the lines a little bit and introduce an interesting mode shift that the rest of the band doesn't move along with, which gives us some really nice tension added to the middle of the solo before slipping back into the same mode the rest of the band is in. It's just a really well done, and I can sit here and praise their melody writing all day. It's something that I do every time Neo ends up on the channel. It is just, it's easily the strongest part to me is their melody writing and how they layer their melodies. It's never just one instrument doing melody. Everybody's always got some chance to input a moving melodic idea against someone else, and it's the layers that really sell this for me. But aside from the melodic writing and the layering of the melodic writing, the production. Now, this album art looks familiar. We have checked out another song off of this. Oh, this is where Plague Flowers the Kaleidoscope is on. I think that's the only one we've checked off of this one, which is weird, because that was a long time ago. I mean, this album art must have did a number on me, or maybe the band did. I mean, I think this was my intro to them, was Plague Flowers the Kaleidoscope, and that's a wild introduction to the band. I mean, definitely seared themselves into my memory. But the production on here is so clean. Whether it's placement of voices, balancing the placement of voices, which I just talked about, having the vocals, the melody lines kind of being a bit disjointed and it's still sounding fine. The layering, the placement of moving melodic lines when you layer them. You know, if you have three ideas, you got your bass, your violin, and your vocals all doing something moving, how do you ensure that they don't step on each other's toes? Are you making sure that there's enough space between everything? The song is fairly compressed, not as far as volume wise, but distance. It feels like the music is right around my head. It doesn't have the extra space to it that I get from a classical recording, for instance, or really well produced electronic music. This is pretty typical for rock and metal. It's just a very close production. But what's interesting is that despite that, it still feels like there's plenty of room between everything. I don't feel like there's any instance in this song where it's like, oh, I'm having a tough time telling these two ideas apart because because the production on them is rough, or because they're not spaced out enough. Everything was just done very well on the production side. Everything is very clean and concise and clear. And clear is the thing I really want to lean on, whether it is the double bass kicks, which can easily, each hit can bleed into the next at the speed that they're being played at, or the multiple layers, or even just like the growls. In a lot of metal bands, traditional metal bands that kind of go for more of a grittier, lower fidelity production, And I'm not saying lo-fi. I'm just talking about like a mid-fi, a little above mid-fi, mid-high maybe. Sometimes the growls are given extra grit through width, and it kind of gives it a bit of a bleed over. It's usually only the really technical metal bands that put extra emphasis on keeping the shortness of the attacks in the growls and to keep them from bleeding out. Um, well, man, that sounds weird. To keep them from bleeding over the rest of the song. And it, for sure, as always, this is an aesthetic thing. You can certainly make a song sound great if you give the growl a bit of bleed over. But for something like this, you really need that concise, contained growling, no different than the bass kicks or the bass guitar, or anything that's really being put into the low end. You want to make sure that it stays contained so that you can balance it properly with everything else that's going on. And there's just so much attention to clarity, which to me is just so important. It is a hallmark of my favorite music. I enjoy very few albums that have muddier mixes. There's got to be something really strong in the music that I've got to gravitate to, or it's got to be something from when I was younger when I didn't care. Because, yeah, 2000s rock, which is, as I've said before, what I grew up on in my teen years and my formative years, a lot of that had some questionable mixes, but I still enjoy them. I'm going to assume nostalgia plays a part in that. But yeah, getting into an album today, and I've listened to over 100 albums, I think, this year. Consistently, the ones that I really love, and in a couple of months, when I put my album of the year list together, I guarantee all 10 of them are going to have clear production. These are just going to be at so much space and resolution to each voicing in the music. Um, it's just something I really enjoy, and Neo consistently delivers this. This Tim Charles person has a phenomenal ear for very clear production. Now, it is also very clean production, but I like to separate those two. There's something very different between clarity in your production and cleanliness in your production. You can have a clean, gritty production. You can have something that feels very raw, like a black metal production, but where you can still hear each instrument and they're not doing that wall of sound thing where everything comes together. There is clarity of instrumentation, but it is still gritty. It's not a clean production. And while Neo, like I said, does have a cleanliness to it, what I really want to emphasize is the clarity. There is precision both in the performance and the presentation of the music. And it makes sense that the same person produces and composes this. You can just tell that bit of their personality is injected into every aspect of this track. Um, is that it? We talked about all the musical components, layering, production, theme. I guess it just feels like this was very short. I guess let's hit the lyrics then. I can't believe there's nothing else I want to talk about. All right, not a lot here. Let's see this. I really wish they would use different thing here. We have Tim Charles is in italics and Zenoyer. Their lyrics are in standard, but they also look very similar to me. I can't really tell if it's, I don't know. Some words, some lines don't look like they're in italics, and maybe they are. So I'm just going to read this straight through and ignore whether it's being sung by one person or the other and just read it as a whole. Because, like I said, I'm finding it difficult. I don't know. That's weird. I don't usually. Anyways, swan of pale, of porcelain white, her halo a bloody sun, framing a Botticelli face. Of Petrichor weaves black noise, where her frame disfigures, pale of swan painted, dying, wilted in red ribbons, lashing black sails, a tattered mane, her mouth a death's head smile, tongueless choirs and bated breath ever watching, the angels beheaded, bleeding this heart come clarity, resonance of Petrichor weaves black noise. So basically, I'm going to. Yeah, we do have her halo. So a woman has been killed. There's a lot of blood around her head. We have a halo of blood around her, and then we have painted, dying, wilted in red ribbons. Multiple allusions to blood around the body. A tattered mane, a smile on the face, and then the angels beheaded, bleeding his heart come clarity. I'm not sure if that's saying that the person who came up on this on the body, assuming that they have a uh, feelings for this person. They obviously seem upset about this body, about this person being killed. Did they attempt to behead the angels that were watching? I don't know. Um, Light draped ephemeral, her stained glass horizon, the house glass shattered. Glacial starfell memories, Caligari haunting within this cabinet of change, upon flutter eye wings. In efflorence, the shadows saraband. Her silence was her name, the silence was so loud. And I'm lost here. Yeah, I got nothing. Time cleanse these severed hands of time. Rain, rain again, wash away this pain on mood kissed flesh. New kingdom come of earth and vast, libera me. Cleanse these severed hands of time. And rain, let rain wash away the pain on my moon kissed flesh. So, laying here in the middle of the night. New kingdom come of earth and vast. Rain, rain, earthen, shine, shine, new kingdom shine on. Dreamer, I dream on, dream, dream, follow me afar, weep, come, kingdom come, O hope, libera me. So is libera liberate? Kind of taking that like a Latin kind of vibe there. Oh, libera is a choir. Well, that's a noun, and he's definitely used it as a verb. Libera me. Yeah, there is, from what I can see, there is no verbification of this word. Unless he's saying I am the choir. But it's specifically, a Roman Catholic responsory that is sung usually at funerals after the Mass and prior to the final prayers. Still, it's a noun. You can't verbify that. So I'm curious what exactly they're leaning on there, libera me. But this does seem to be some sort of eulogy. Or, in fact, this could be the libera. This is the song that is sung at a funeral between the Mass and the final prayers. Um, it is a song for the loss of a loved one, it seems. There is anger, there is loss of direction, there is pain, but hopefully there is a future. It says, New Kingdom come, and then it says, the new kingdom should shine on me. I hope it shines on me, and I wish to dream far. Dream and follow me afar. So I wonder if that's what this is about then. So what is Petrichor Weaves Black Noise? Petrichor. What is black noise? How do these come together for this song? Alright, so petrichor is the scent of rain. The smell that rises from dry ground when it rains. You know, I love that smell. And I'm sure I'm not in the minority there, but I never knew it had a name. I never knew it was called Petrichor. Okay. Of Petrichor Weaves Black Noise. So from the smell after rain that comes from the ground, we make black noise. So white noise contains all frequencies. Black noise is the absence of frequencies and thus the absence of sound. Well, that sounds like they got it backwards to me. As I just explained earlier, white is the absence of everything. Black is all color. But anyways, so yes, we have white noise and other noises and frequencies there at the end that rise up into silence. So, I mean, I can kind of take that idea and run with it as far as bringing black noise into the track. In fact, there's zero moments of silence throughout this song other than the very first second and the very last 2 seconds. So basically, the title is saying that after it rains, there's silence. That could mean a lot. That can be an allegory for a lot of things. We can look at the idea of um, even since this person is mourning the loss of somebody, we can look at it as the silence after the tears have fallen. Um, It could also be that, when it rains, water hitting the ground and roofs and all sorts of stuff makes noise. Rain has a sound to it, and when it's done raining, we go back to the quiet. Even if there's, animals around that would normally make noise, it takes them a while to get back out after the rain before the birds start doing their songs and the squirrels start chirping and all that stuff. Chirping? That's probably the wrong, wrong word for squirrel speak, but whatever. But that seems a bit more literal and less connected to this idea of mourning the loss of someone. Um, I don't know. As usual with Neo, it's just kind of cryptic. They write in massive metaphors. Um, even the title is, it seems to me, purposefully cryptic, tying into, uh, you know, unusual vocabulary or not uncommon vocabulary, and then utilizing a layer of metaphor on top of that. Not only do you need to know what these words are and what this sound is, but you also need to know how they tie into things metaphorically, what this could mean on a metaphorical level rather than a literal one. Same goes with "and plague flowers the kaleidoscope," which, if I remember correctly, somebody mentioned like the kaleidoscope was a term for the earth, and plagues would kill humans and allow the earth to reconstitute itself, allow for Mother Nature to take back control, and that the earth would grow out of plague, and that's the flowering, the blooming. Like, where do they come up with this stuff? Ah. Those are my thoughts on Obliviscaris' of Petrichor Weaves Black Noise. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not, anything that stood out to you, anything you'd like to add or correct me on. Let me know. Above the comments is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. Takes you to this menu right here. It has links for everything related to the channel. You can support the channel in a variety of ways, find communities that sit around the channel, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, we have a special selection today as well. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.